David, welcome back. We just
good
saw each other,
afternoon.
but no one's going to know that unless they look at our clothing, because one show is going to be airing on the 17th, and this show is going to air on the 10th. So no one's even going to know that we have different clothing.
I've got a new fresh face because yesterday I was lucky enough to go back to the clinic that had been I've been having this treatment for the
For your Russian
cancer.
brides, sure.
Yeah, for the Russian
Yeah,
brides, and he actually told
right.
me. He said, "Really good news. It's all gone. I don't have any issues anymore with the skin cancer." And he
Nice,
said, "Your skin actually looks 10 years younger." So there you go. So you're now
nice.
looking at
Now you look like you're
on,
now you 10 years younger.
yeah. So now I only look like I'm 17 as opposed to 25.
I was just going to say congratulations. So yeah,
Thank you,
nice, very
thank
nice.
you,
Look at
thank you.
you. Now your
Anyway,
Russian bride will be very happy. I'm excited.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, most people have missed that, but because today we're back, it's a remote work show with Michael.
Yes, we
Let's
are.
get him on, and I've got some interesting topics to talk about this week. So,
He
welcome
does.
again, Michael. Good to see
Michael,
you.
good afternoon, good morning, and hello.
Great to see you again. Great to see you again.
Great to see you.
All right. So yeah, we do have a few good topics. Last time I wanted to play off of the social media that we talked about, came up on the last show, because social media is so prolific. It can be very problematic, as we know, on a lot of levels. I don't know. Did you guys see that movie, Social Dilemma? That would add some context to this as well. Did you see that movie?
I have not seen that movie.
Okay.
No, I haven't seen it
Social
either.
Dilemma, yeah, Social Dilemma talks about some of the actual ill effects of young people in particular spending too much time on social media. And by chance, I'm going to subscribe to this newsletter for a book called The Comfort Crisis. And it's a guy,
Okay.
Michael Easter, who talks about the new science of what makes humans strong, healthy, and happy. And his topic in this last newsletter was actually the lost art of boredom. And it plays perfectly in media. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So, I mean, how many times you've been in the shower and just doing your hair and then you come up with brilliant ideas? That's what he's talking about.
All right. First of all, look at David's hair. So let's not. You
Yeah.
can't say that.
Really?
And second of
Really?
all, I'm not far behind them. I have a friar tuck. So yeah, no, we can't relate to that. So
Yeah, I mean something else in Cockney slang, but there you go. Yeah,
So
Yeah. So
yeah, social media.
well, I
Yeah.
think, but isn't social media? I read an article years ago. It was either in the Harvard thing or someone or the Financial Times, who knows? But they said that social media, like all of this, is basically having shorter attention spans
that's
for people. So like I like to read it. Like I read my FT online and I read every article or whatever. And then when I read a book, I like a book and I sit there and I read. But I like that because it also helps me keep my attention span longer, because everything nowadays is like 15, 20 seconds, 15, 20 seconds. Listen, and we're partly to blame. We have a TikTok channel where everything is like 12 seconds,
right.
but that's it.
Well, I'm going to show you a picture that Noosh sent me, because you're right. The attention span is, I mean, scientifically, they know it's getting shorter and shorter, which is a problem in its own.
Right.
But Noosh sent me this picture when I told her we were going to talk about this show. I literally saw this
Right.
at the beach. The book is, doing the Heimlich maneuver on, or doing the CPR on.
That's funny.
Too much social media. Yeah.
That's very funny. That's very cute.
It's true. I mean, you guys know it. So one of the things that I want to bring up was this idea of the art of boredom. It actually comes from this guy, Ellis Paul Torrance. So he was a 1950s psychologist who studied creativity specifically. So in the 50s, which I don't know much about, but in the 50s, apparently when he was talking about, when he was studying students, the teachers were not giving a lot of credit and not giving a lot of attention to the students who were acting out and were not being book smart, were not being focused on their work. And he said, actually, it's probably those kids who are misunderstood. And it turns out he was right. His study, the Torrance test, is a better predictor of success in life than the IQ test. So the idea is that because there's this obsession with social media and just feeding your boredom with social media and podcasts and everything online without taking time for yourself, there's something of a creativity crisis. So Torrance test scores in at least the United States have been going down since that time, since the 90s or so, because people, in part probably because people are spending so much time on their devices and not enough time just literally being bored and going out for a walk and spending time just thinking.
Well, here, I'll give you
Okay.
this. When I take my
So
dog
then-
for a walk, wait, let me tell you, when I
Yeah.
take my dog for a walk, 95% of the people have their phone like this. And when I'm walking my dog, my phone is in my pocket, just in case there's an emergency. Don't take it out. I don't look at it. I'm not curing cancer. There's no email that's important or text that's that important.
Right.
No phone calls that important. And I concentrate on the walk, the dog, or we're playing, or she's learning something. That's what we concentrate on. And when I get back to the house, I pull my phone out, see if I missed anything. And if not, play with the dog. So, and I think people, and even on the weekends, like we'll go out, I don't take my phone.
No.
And it's just like, okay, it's like, I don't need my phone. There's nothing going on the planet that somebody needs to get me on a Saturday or Sunday. I mean, I'll come home and check it, or if we're going to be gone all day, I'll put it in the glove box and look at it periodically. But it's not like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And the other thing, like dinners, phone is down on the table or in my breast pocket. I mean, and people are just like stuck to this thing. It's like, relax. You're not going to miss anything unless, the world's blowing up. You're good.
It's a big differential for the people who aren't totally glued to their phones, and that's actually that could play into. I mean, that'll play into the remote work topic that I'll bring up next in a moment. But the idea that you can differentiate yourself by not being glued to your social media accounts and by not being glued to your phone.
Well, you can start it off very slowly. I have some pretty hot debates with dinner guests. Mostly the kids or my partner's kids. And I said, look, guys, phones away on the table. And it is a conversation, and then somebody has to prove a point, and then they have to Google it and get the telephone out. But rule is.
But why does somebody have to Google something to prove a point? Remember good old days where you had a debate?
Yeah, but the thing is, Stephen, that was probably in a period where people had a reasonably broad education. And now the education is.
That's true. People are stupid. I forgot.
Well, I think it suits society to keep most people stupid as well, and just to feed them, binge feed them on celebrity crap or whatever. But this whole thing, we started off by saying, look, please don't do it. And they said, why? I said, well, because we've invited you to come for a meal, and we'd kind of like to enjoy your conversation. And that's a lot. I'd much rather look at your face than the back of a telephone. But ironically, of course, the people who are listening to this are either on a podcast or they're watching it on YouTube. So we are as much to blame as we are to complain.
Well, there's moderation. There's levels of moderation. I mean, you can't deny that the information, that the access to information, like the brilliance of your guys' shows that you're doing all week, of course. That content is accessible in ways that was never possible before, and we have to acknowledge how amazing that is. But when it's taken to excess, is when it becomes a problem. And this actually plays to the comment that we had, Stephen, or a couple episodes ago about just picking up the phone, because when people are on there as a remote worker, it's too easy just to go to Slack or instant messaging or Teams instead of just picking up the phone.
Right. And I find Slack personally useless. It's because I can text you WhatsApp is free, and I can get more done on WhatsApp for free. And David and I have companies together, and you and I have been on groups together, but I can get more documents sent and more things sent through WhatsApp than Slack will allow me for free. That I got to pay this. I don't want to pay for it. I got 9,000 people in a talk on WhatsApp, and it's like boom, 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 done. And it's beautiful. And I can make phone calls all over the world when I travel for free. So I don't really understand the Slacks of the world and the team. I don't get that. I mean, before all this crap, we'd use Skype because that was free, right? Everybody would type in Skype. So I don't really understand why people are paying for something that something does it for free just so they can say we have this because we want to be hip and cool and look at us as a company. It's like, but it's free and it works just as well. So I don't understand that sometimes. But I'm just an idiot. What do I know? So.
Well, I'm not here to defend Slack, but I do have some thoughts on it because I do use it all the time.
Sure.
The thing I do like about it, a few things, is the fact that you can create channels. So you can create channels of
Okay.
communication as opposed to WhatsApp, where I use that too. I use that as well to communicate with larger groups of people and just put things out there and then do instant messaging on a personal level.
Right.
But, Slack gives you channels in work, so you do it by topic, and it just makes it a little bit more organized for work topics. But I see it, and it costs money. And you see that Slack just a couple major executives from Slack just left. So there's a shakeup.
Well, Discord is almost like Slack. Discord's like Slack too. I mean, like, there's so many things out there at this point. It's got, now I can understand if you're like a securities company or you're a law firm, you need certain things for compliance. But I mean, realistically, if you're a group of 5 people working, come on, you could set up 3. You could set up 3 What's Up channels, and it's just as good as 57 Slack channels, I guess. I don't know. What do I know? I'm an old school guy.
Well, old school, cheapskate, depending which way you want to look at it, really.
Well, cheapskate is good. That's why I'm old school. I'm cheap. That's the way I'm Jewish. It's what I do. I'm cheap. We try to make a deal for everything. So let me ask you this.
I have to agree, though. I'd have to agree with you as well, Stephen. There's so much stuff being offered, and and I think a lot of it's a bit of a FOMO thing as well.
Right.
Oh yeah, this is the industry I'm in. Because people have said to me in the past, like, oh, this is what we do. In this industry, this is what we use. And I think, well, okay, fair enough. Whereas, WhatsApp and I was on Discord for a little while. We had that on one of the companies we used, and I think you and I were the only people who used it. Everybody got, much decus erectus about setting it all up in the first place. And then once we did it, there was only you and I messaging each other. So, So, but anyway,
back to WhatsApp because too much
I think in many respects, Michael, because you represent a lot of people who for the remote working side of it. That these are being online, talking to each other, and distributing information in a secure way is for a lot of people the only way to go.
Yeah. Well, and then and you made me think about this. Just what popped into mind is this fine balance. I mean, remote workers, just like everybody else, needs to achieve some sort of fine balance between using too much technology and not using enough of it, because it is a huge advantage. And when this article ends by actually saying, well, how do you bring that creativity back? And it's pretty simple. It's something that I actually do, and I'm including it as part of the mastery courses as a reminder to remote workers to get away from the computer, get away from your devices, just go for a walk outside. And the article actually says, go for a walk for 20 minutes without your phone, or at least not looking at your phone, just to give your brain time to be bored and be observant, and actually just open your mind a little bit.
Well, it's funny because when I run or when I row, my phone is there for the music. So I can have, the Rolling Stones or AC/DC blaring, so I can just get lost in it. But I will watch people run, and they're on their phone, and I'm like, how are you doing? This is so stupid. So we really have become a society that's just dependent on a toy. And I'm like, it's a great toy, but unless you're curing cancer or you're a general and there's a war going on, there's nothing that's happening in that half hour or an hour that you need your phone. Like I joked with a friend of mine many years ago, and I said, what do you keep the phone near your bed when you're having sex with your wife? Do you look at your phone? And he just looked at me, and I'm like, if you do, if I was your wife, I would strangle you. Like literally, I'd be like, seriously? And to me, it's like phones away. Don't want to know about it.
Before then, everybody was using Post-its. Just putting them on the bedstead. So I don't know what's more romantic, to be honest, Stephen. Telephone or Post-its.
Oh, Post-it with candlelight. Come on.
Paper, yeah. So anyway,
Let me ask you this before we go. So Facebook said 2 days ago that they may not do U.S. news or news anymore in the U.S.
Right.
So what do you think of that? Because talking about social media, they're big social media. So what do we think about Facebook and the news and not doing it? Not that they give you real news anyway, but what do we think? What do we think about that?
Well, so Australia has a law that already does that. And to actually, the idea is to take some of the profits that these massive tech companies are making by sharing articles and taking content basically from these small journalists and publishing it on really on their platform. So it's actually had some vibrant success, at least in Australia. And I think that the idea of trying to share the wealth, I mean, I've been in the tech industry for 15 years, and there's so much opportunity there. But in a way, you do have to find a way to share that and to give people, creators, their due. And I'm a guy who, when I was 12 years old, I started a local newsletter, a monthly newsletter that I distributed to people in the neighborhood for 5 years while I was in school. And I fully believe in local papers. I buy the local papers all the time, and I believe that there is something special about getting news that's written by somebody who's in your town or in your county and knows all the ins and outs of what's going on the ground. So if there's an effort to share some of the publishing wealth, which is what's happening on social media, with the smaller providers, I think that's a positive thing. I think the caution is, you always have to be careful of overstepping and really stifling innovation. I don't know that Facebook is actually going to turn off the news spigot, because a lot of content comes from that. But it's an obvious threat, and we'll see what happens there.
Well, I thought the article that I read behind that, it was also interesting, because they said they want them to have better monitors so a Donald Trump situation can't arise again. So I was like, yeah, with technology, you need somebody that could be the babysitter. They're telling Elon Musk, the US DOJ is looking at it, and so is the EU, and they don't know if they're going to let the acquisition stand, because they don't know if they want him to actually have that kind of power, because they don't trust him, because he's a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So I think that's very interesting for Twitter as well.
It's the Twitter.
Yeah, and the same thing happening here as well in Europe, that Facebook will now be unable to send adverts directly to your news feed based on your profile. That's going to be made illegal here as well. So only things that you have agreed to see. So yeah, what with that, and Apple, pulling out from the whole Facebook deal, sharing all their data, it's going to be tough times, I think, for Meta going forward. And I think they have to make up their mind exactly. Well, finally, they may just say what they are as a company, and which, are they a publishing house? Are they a platform, a tech platform?
Yeah.
We still don't know.
And what you're bringing up too is this idea that people's information, well, this kind of came up last time, people's information is out there being monetized, and maybe do people realize how much money is being made off of the backs of your metadata? I mean, the data, it's not just the data that you write, the content that you write, but it's all the metadata that's around you that says what sites you go to, how long you were there, what pages you visited, and then then what advertising actually had an effect, which right now they're using it for advertising, but people can use it for nefarious reasons too.
Well, it's interesting. There's a couple sites that came out a few years ago where people are saying, hey, you can get paid for your stuff. And like, they teach you how to, like, say to an advertiser or a Facebook, like, hey, if you want to use my data, you have to pay me. So there are sites out there that help the average person. Mm-hmm. So I find that interesting. And I think over the next 10 years, it literally is going to be like, oh, if we want to use someone's data, we either have to pay them or they're going to, like, check lots of boxes. Because really, when I go to a site and it says, we want to, I'm like, no, you can't use my stuff for nothing. Because I don't want to see an ad for whatever on my phone or this. It's really funny. I'll look at something, and then 20 minutes later, if I'm looking at something else, I see this ad, and I'm like, yeah, no. So I have literally turned off everything. So no, you don't need to show me anything. I'll find it all on my own. And it really is Big Brother. It's Orwell's 1984. It just took an extra, if you will, 40 years to get there, but we're there.
Yeah, well, I think it's just one of those things that the technology has caught up with it. But I mean, the horses, we touched on this very briefly on the last show, Michael. The horse is already bolted, because we have a whole generation of people who just said yes to the T's and C's.
Yeah.
And we haven't. Tell me now, gentlemen, are you on Facebook?
Oh,
Stephen?
yeah.
I know you're not. Yeah, you on Facebook, Stephen?
No.
Michael? Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Could you tell me what's in the T's and C's?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
So you have this whole generation.
Most
this whole
definitely.
generation of people who have already given away everything,
Yeah.
and now they are eternally shocked. Oh, well, I can't do that with all my data. Well, yeah, but they've been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're going to continue to do it unless you stop using the service. And trying to get off Facebook is a lot more difficult than signing up for it, and to
Well,
make sure to get all your data off.
That's right. And they keep the data anyway for a long period of time. And then there's a clause that says it's anonymized, so then they can keep it even longer, things like that. So yeah, there's a lot that's maybe wrong with the whole ecosystem of social media. But I think people need to start thinking.
It's the same issue with WhatsApp as well, because although they don't read your encrypted messages, they do have a way of knowing what's being currently talked about. Not who's talking about it, but they have a way of looking at the data, and that of course helps them to sell that information again to trending advertising companies or other people who are interested in either social trending or what's been said about a political point of view. So it's and we're like Stephen said, we're in the middle of this. I mean, I think, what was the original story that Orwell wanted to call it 1948, but his publishers wouldn't allow him to do it, so he had to flip the name. But it's Big Brother's already here. He's sitting downstairs in the lounge by me, so he's been here for quite a while.
And so I think one of the morals of the story for the moment is that people just need to become more aware of what's actually going on, what's already out there, which I know is not a guarantee that people will actually do it. But as legislators pick up on this, Mike Lawler, who's in my hometown, just got into Congress, and he's talked about social platforms and education and information. So he's a younger guy. He's 36. So as more people get into Congress who are aware of these topics and aware of technology, I mean, I've always advocated for people who are getting into elected offices to be aware of the technology that's out there and to make themselves aware of it so they understand it. How can you pass legislation for things that you don't understand? And they do.
It's easy. Have you been in America for the last 40, 50, 60, 100 years? So they do it really simple here.
Yeah,
they don't read anything. They just go, sure, yes. Who wrote me a check?
But I think one of the ironies here is a bit like saying, okay, so they solved the problem tomorrow morning. They say, all right, we don't want any more of this. And it's a bit like saying, okay, you can't mine anything else anymore, but you can still use what's in your original mine. So you can't, you know what I mean? So all that data is already there. And they've got enough to, information that they can sell for a lifetime, even if they don't produce any more tomorrow morning. So
so it actually ties into this thought, which is there was a CNBC article that talks about over COVID and all these remote workers, where 40 or 50% of professionals were remote workers. They saved 60 million hours in commute time. And so the question was, what were they doing with that time? Well, a big part of it went to actually sleeping full nights, which is interesting. But also they had more leisure time, according to this report. And that leisure time was spent with their household, with their family members, and childcare. And so has the whole COVID crisis given us more leisure time as remote workers? Yes, but how many people are using that time well? That's kind of a cultural shift that I think needs to happen. And I do put that in the remote mastery course too, is that it's not just about being a tech savvy person. It's actually about having the whole package, having a morning routine, having clean mental hygiene, doing things that are good for you and your family. I mean, it's a whole lifestyle. It's not just turning on a switch and being at a computer all day. So,
and like a lot of them show up in their bathrobes and slippers, or with no pants, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I get dressed for work every day as a remote worker, and I think it's a good habit to do that.
I agree. I do the same thing. I get up, do my workout, take a shower, get ready for the day, and then this way I feel like I've actually done something instead of sitting around all day and nothing. But you'll be surprised how many people when I take the dog out and I see them and it's like 1 or 2 in the afternoon and I'm like, dude, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're still in your pajamas? Like, what the hell? It's just like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's beyond me. But that's old school.
This show is going to promote on the remote work show. We're going to promote the old school views because I subscribe to that too in many ways.
There you go.
And I think it's the right way to go. So in many ways,
very cool.
Yeah. So
and Michael can be seen here on our show at 10 o'clock every Friday morning.
Yeah.
And maybe next year we'll do a live
hopefully
show.
with his trousers on, but
hey, whatever floats his boat. He could do trousers on or off. We're flexible.
Yeah, it's only this section. But yeah, anyways, yeah, go ahead.
I think you said about, what were they doing with the extra time? Well, I was also listening to a retail analyst report this week. And what happened was that during COVID, of course, people had all that extra time. What were they doing? They were shopping online. So you saw this huge explosion in online shopping, and people were making money hand over fist. The big companies all around us. Don't have to mention their names; they're not paying us. But what's happening now is that now the shops and everything are starting to open. Is that online shopping trading is actually starting to dip, and people seemed to have strangely enough, people are now saying, "Oh, I didn't realize how nice it was to get out of the house and to go shopping and to go to and go to my local high street and meet people and have coffee and whatever."
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're talking about working remotely. If you can do a little bit of both, like you can work and still be part of your community. That must be everybody's goal for the coming year and the coming years, I think.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, David, I'm totally supportive of that idea. If people who are remote workers, and it's not that many, I mean, even if it's 20 or 30% of the population, it's a chunk, and they should be, I mean, ideally you want them to be involved in the community. And I think most people, even remote workers who are behind the computer all day, I think that's made me appreciate being out among people more than when I was doing it all the time. I mean, this whole crisis has been quite a ride for a lot of people, for everybody. And I definitely have more of an appreciation for just, pressing the flesh and being out with people face to face.
Yeah. It's
you
strange,
get more out of
isn't
it that way because you get that in the interaction.
We all thought, of course, oh great, we'll all be able to stay at home and work, and it'll be all honky dory. And then these other aspects come as well. There's social intercourse, which we are totally denied, or you're doing it just virtually. And then all of a sudden, what we're doing is actually changing. So even the high streets, of course, a lot of them are all dying or have died because of the retail outlets that were in there before COVID, and a lot of them didn't make it. And now we're seeing, certainly in Europe and in the UK, that a lot of high streets are slowly turning round to what they used to be before, which was like a place to go, somewhere enjoyable to walk down, lots full of independent stores, somewhere that, you can have a cup of coffee or you can get something to eat. Or unless, of course, you're in the UK, where one of the most growing industries seems to be tattoo parlors, but hey, that's another show. But it's great, all the remote working, but unless, as you always tell us, Michael, unless you can find a balance in this, it doesn't really advance you mentally. So it's very important that you get all things down that you need to do, all the technology that you need to be able to work remotely, but discipline yourself to do it, and then get out and enjoy what's happening around in the world around you.
I mean, I think that's a great note to end on, David. That was really good, because I know we're
here. Yeah, I'm sure that sounded more like the gospel according to David, but there you go.
I love it.
That's a good ending. That's it. Michael, we will see you next Friday. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Michael.
All right, guys. Cheers.
See you next week, everybody.